Welcome back, everybody, to the PPL. It is a Splyce doubleheader, and I was digging the music that we were listening to.
Yeah,
in the
it was
break.
nice. I think like a good, again, something that can bring you down a little bit. So it's like, okay, well, we just finished one set, relax, new set.
Yeah, switching gears a bit, there's a very different style between G2 play and Renegades play, even though they're both facing off against Splyce. I think we have a lot to look forward to with this matchup.
I'm actually kind of curious again to see how this one's going to work out, just because Splyce looked a lot better up against Renegades than I thought it was going to. I'm wondering how they're going to feel up against G2. I still think G2 has that little bit of a leg up, and a big leg up, actually.
And we got to see some really prime play from I Drop Bodies during the last week, and just some interesting compositions in general with the Quadra DPS play that we had witnessed, but with the sniper action, and we actually just ended on this map during the last set.
Definitely able to pull out, I'm not going to say any strategy that they want, but against teams, I want to say again like SK and in this case Splyce, this is where G2 can really pull out anything that they would like to. Obviously, running something like if you do 4 DPS 3 games in a row, you're much more likely to lose each of those maps. I think Fish Market was one of those maps that it's like, this is a key for it to work right here. But as of right now, I think what they have going for them is just strength in their flexibility.
And whenever they do bring an interesting composition to the table, it's not just a matter of, hey, let's see how we can do on these different champions, right? They adjusted their entire team strategy with positioning and itemization and all of that as well. I don't know if we're going to see anything that crazy from them today. Who knows anymore? But facing off against Splyce, who did manage to keep the fight going in a few of those games against Renegades, and actually almost pushing it to a game number 5. But Ricotta was still playing so well during the games, particularly the one that they did win.
And honestly, there were a lot of moments that I feel he could have been the tide turner for them. There were several moments where it's kind of between him and Shadow as to who was going to kind of pick up the slack. I feel like he hit it a little bit more often than not. There were times that he was, again, not necessarily the sole reason, but a huge reason, at least 70% of the reason that they would be able to push certain things forward. Shadow was in that presence, in that conversation as well, but the two of them, especially on Bright Marsh, looked not necessarily unstoppable, but they were just rolling. Momentum was heavy in their hand.
Leon and Cassie just back-to-back in those cases and covered all angles. And this was Ricotta on the Androxus that we just witnessed, where managed to get some heavy shots in, but in the end, Renegades were able to thwart them. And we'll see how Splyce does fare against G2 as we go into map number 1. But G2, they're the number 1 seed within North America, and they're not going to go down easy, if at all.
That's, I think, the big key. This is one of those matchups, the closest thing I could compare it to is yesterday we watched Virtus.pro go up against Fnatic. That's the way this would feel for North America. Splyce, I actually want to say, is a little bit stronger than Virtus.pro, and G2 maybe not quite at the same level as Fnatic as of right now. They take games off of each other when they come through, but I feel like Fnatic has the better win rate in those matchups. But it's still pretty much the same kind of skill gap. G2 are very strong, very flexible. They've been showing a ton of strength since they picked up Vex, and I don't think it's going to stop now.
And Splyce actually take Terminus off of the table, so we're going to a map that we don't get to go to really frequently at all, and it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since we've actually come here. And G2, I think they were one of the first to adapt Swissstone Quarry when that one had come out, and then as far as like once they eventually put in work, they really found a way to excel there. And then here with Ascension Peak as well, maybe looking to do the same thing.
And I'm kind of curious, just because, we go back to essentially like what it was the beginning of the season. 4 frontline bans, although I'd say all of them are warranted. And you're in this area where I'm kind of curious as to what Splyce are working around with this. Maeve Genos is going to be insanely strong, but Cassie is insanely strong. So I'm curious as to what Splyce has in their mind as the overall scheme. Barrack as a solo frontliner, is he coming in as kind of that side guy who's going to sit on the point while your other frontliner can get aggressive? How do they want to play this?
And Fernando gets locked in as well. So having Buck and Cassie and now the Damba, and leaving that last pick open where I think there's a few different strategies that G2 can go with, and getting to wait to see what Splyce brings to the table. Maeve has a lot of mobility, and on a map like this where there's all these different avenues that you can actually access, whether you're on the push and you're attempting to actually complete it, or you're circling around the capture point.
Last pick. It's going to end up being Eevee. So I like the flanks, and I like Shaolin. I actually like what Splyce has done here, just because a lot of mobility, a lot of corners, a lot of areas on this map that you can utilize with these picks. The only thing that's going to be the big question mark for me is this Barrack, his performance, especially up against G2. Is it going to be enough of a presence really on the front line? I don't know if their playstyle is going to fit it well enough. You're relying heavily on like Maeve giving you that room.
I do like having 2 flanks on both sides and seeing kind of how those pan out within this match. But it's G2 versus Splyce. Let's go ahead and get it rolling.
Again, it's kind of got to be all eyes on G-Bunny here. Ascension Peak is, I don't know what your thoughts are, but it's hard to frontline on. I think you can do solo frontline here easily enough, but it's just very overwhelming because it is kind of open. There are a lot of angles to just be aware of. But at the same time, you do have those statues that on-point cover that you can almost like bury yourself behind if things get too hectic.
But at the same point with the double flank, it really comes down to a lot of there's going to be lots of crucial decision-making, I think, that we need to pay attention to for both frontliners of when do you go in, when do you need to retreat, and when are you safe to stay. And then beyond that, how do you get that aggression and that ability to push forward when the payload is on your side, because there is a lot of high ground looking right down upon you. So this is going to be a really interesting situation to see if G-Bunny's control and his patience more than anything else is at the level that it needs to be for the PPL.
Some of the scariest names in North American Paladins
True that.
off against them. You look at this draft, you look at these names, you don't see many holes here, but I have to say Splyce have been fighting extremely valiantly today. Rukata on Shaw, Aspect on Eevee, and Shadow on Maeve. It's not, I'd be surprised if they won, but at the same time, part of me wouldn't.
Yeah, same. I mean, this is already not a good situation. Aspect is in a really terrible spot. He's able to get back out, but again, look at the position that Evil Eye's in. He's able to sit here, and this is a fine 1v1. You can sit back here as Zen. You don't need your pressure on point. Keep this Eevee away.
Keep a lid on it, so to speak. Maeve dashing around, and just kind of a cooldown battle, so to speak, trying to manage back and forth what each champion can do. So it's all, for all intents and purposes, a 4v4 on the objective. Rukata forced out early, eats big burst damage. And this is just the communication you see. Body's almost instantaneous reaction to Dosup's calling out a low target.
Oh my goodness, Dosups, that is insane. Able to track down the shots just as G-Bunny's shields expire, not wasting any arrows in the quiver, and then turning and hitting a mid-air shot onto Eevee as well. This is just Dosups again, the OG Cassie, fabled of old times, coming back and making it work.
And not even a crazy amount of kills there, I think, either way that decides the fate of this map. I think maybe a lot of respect and a lot of space to worry about, to control on Ascension Peak there is what can kind of lead to some of those awkward fights, and especially Aspect and Evil Eye, sort of unstoppable force versus immovable, objecting each other over on the left-hand side flank. The Palace for the majority of that fight.
Again, with a lot of low HP targets on Splyce, it really comes down to if you do soak up 1 or 2 shots that you shouldn't be, it can instantly turn into a kill. As Bodies is able to pick up one more Rukata, and the Heat Haze looking to counter, but that's not the position he wants to be in, and now Bodies potentially able to clean up 3 as Vayne is low right in front of him. That'd be a big kill. G-Bunny also low. It's just almost a full staggered team kill here for G2.
Not exactly coin flips per se, but
big stun.
You know what I mean? Things are going well for G2, like that type of stuff, that stun connecting. You know, that's more of a coin flip, if anything, but a lot of little things going right for G2 here and wrong for Splyce out of the gate. Aspect able to take down Dosups, maybe turn the tables a little bit. Is Eevee very disconnected from the rest of her team, doesn't have long to live as Evil Eye tracks her down. Yeah,
very good focus on Evil Eye to come back and make sure she doesn't become that thorn in the side for too long, as the payload is now rounding its last little bit of a curve. Minute and 12 seconds left, and still kills coming out for G2.
There it is, the recovery just forced out from Bodies. Double kill for Evil Eye on the objective. I have to say, tends to be one of the more impressive Zins in North America, but I always wonder, is that just because of G2 in North America, what they do to some of these teams, you know, that makes him look that way?
I think it's a combination. I mean, obviously, he's able to hit a lot of key shots and make the plays that deserve to be happening on Zin to make sure that he's able to, again, have that kind of Bugsy presence that he has when it comes to penetrating a defense. But on top of that, he's getting a lot of help from Dosups, able to rotate over and get a couple of big blast shots in. Eye Drop Bodies is able to sit there and recover up. up and be that kind of big body that Evil Eye sometimes needs. There's just so many things going right that it's hard to pinpoint whether it's just him performing so well or just the fact that everybody is making a complete set here.
And I like that you actually make that comparison to Bugsy, because I feel like the evolution of Xin has been one of, all right, if we get Genos and Xin, then we go Yomi here. If we don't, if we get him Aldamba, then we just go Guillotine or something and have the Xin play safe. I feel like Bugsy and Evil Eye are two of the Xin players that can do whatever they need to do with whatever they need to do. The spike there, it's a risk. You can take damage without Guillotine. Aspect knows that, and he shuts Evil Eye down midair.
It was a nice little flick to make sure he found the connection just to begin with. But yeah, a lot of damage was funneled in, so now the comeback mechanic in effect. That 4% per tick for Splyce, up to 42% just to the 3% of G2, and they do have numbers, at least for a short amount of time. Shadow really wants to find this Fernando. If they can get him poked down a little bit further, again, just tilt that advantage even further in Splyce's direction.
Cuss is back, and G2, they don't have a great composition of ultimates here. I don't necessarily think that any of these are going to tilt it one way or the other. It's really up to the Dread Serpent and the Immortal to pull a lot of weight.
The Dread Serpent just did, though, combined with the Buck Wild, able to find the kills on point, swing it back in their favor. And now, again, this is what G2 has in their comp that's favorable to them. They have a lot of survivability in their flanks because of the cooldowns that can be used for the Xin, but also just the big health pool of eye drop bodies. He's able to, look how fast he's able to rotate over. He hears the prowl and rotates back. Dosep hits a midair shot into Aspect. Again, this is not a situation that Splyce wants to be in, as that capture percentage gives above 90% for G2.
Big arrows coming in from the back line here into Planet. Dosep eats one as well. He's forced out, but it's all good. G2 Esports have captured yet another payload here, and Dosep has a gorgeous angle on the rest of this fight. He lands the entire kit, slays out 2, almost makes it 3. Maeve, as she falls off the map, finally kill credited to the OG.
This is just, again, I think this is G2's game pretty much hand in hand with how they've been playing their composition so well. Again, G-Bunny has been getting focused out pretty difficultly, and he's not really been able to set up anywhere, especially on these defenses. Look at where he is right now, just below the spawn. Like, he's got no area to really work on the payload. He has to just hold on this right flank and hope his damage can control the rest.
And this is just a very chaotic map, in my opinion, and I feel like G2, similar to how I talk about Fnatic, just thriving in that chaos. They just have a couple of DPS players that are probably better than your DPS players, and the more they catch you in one-on-ones, the better they're going to do.
Yeah, Panic Dome Shield coming out just so G-Bunny stays alive for a little bit longer, but G2 will just kind of hold back a little bit longer. They have just under a minute 30 to finish this last about 10% on this push. Shadow trying to make a play happen. That's a huge moment for Shadow.
Yeah, if that cooldown got back up, Evil Eye slips out. Probably would have been inconsequential, but it would have just sent that message that, even in this darkest hour for Evil Eye, you're not going to get the kill onto him. 110 on the clock to make it work. Bodies starting to push up through the palace once again. And immediately, one member of G2 showing presence forces all of Splyce back.
And that's Cuss, who was still mounted all the way up until that fireball came out right into Shadow's face. And again, trying to find that little bit of stagger. The Midnight coming out for the side of Splyce. They need to find a kill here is the big thing. There it is. Wonderful play. Ricotta able to take Dosep, who was on that right-hand side for them, perspectively down. Still a 5-on-4. This defense looking a lot solid.
40 seconds. Shadow looking for a backline pick. Long angle being played here, and that's something that Maeve can do if you can hit the shots. I mean, no fall off involved with the daggers, but now he's got to worry about tangoing in a 1v1 with Dosep here. It looks like he quickly gets the worst end of that trade. Ricotta and Shadow both scuttling back to base. Once again, G2 will try again to break this through. Not a lot of ultimates to work with, but they do have their big one. Dread Serpent comes out. It's going to connect. It's going to send Ricotta back into base for the time being.
Body's able to help with the Doseps with Shadow, who was almost narrowly around. G-Bunny needs to be the focus now, and he's down below half HP. You have to find a way to stop this. Here comes the nice Ice Storm being played out. They need to find a way to get a kill, though. I drop Bodies just sustaining through it.
Look at that.
Finally able to go down, but Vex finds a pickup kill onto G-Bunny.
But here he is. He's back, and he's badder than ever. He gets the kill mid-air. Cuss Cutie holding it down on the front lines. Aspect, as soon as he comes out of the ice block, he's eviscerated. And even with the respawn proximity advantage, Splyce are unable to get their feet under them and fall 4-0 on Ascension Peak.
And again, Splyce won the damage category. Saw that just flash at the end. The big question mark becomes the healing category and what the overall KDA was for G-Bunny. I think that's the big factor for Splyce. You know, we mentioned it on the desk in the last one. Do you really need Vayne on support? Can he possibly switch over to play that front line that he's been doing so well on in the first 2 weeks? That's where I'm looking at as far as the weak spot for Splyce at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of figuring out to do. I think
Yes.
that's pretty clear. Losing Ozone, losing a big factor. And frankly, for my money, I didn't expect them to put up much of a fight at all today. They're already proving me wrong, and I definitely tip my hat to what they're able to do, but they got to do better than that.
It is difficult when you're a team that...
I was trying not to smile.
Too hard.
Tyler
Too
told
hard.
me to stop smiling, so I wanted really badly to stop it. It's
You
just
didn't last
so
very
hard.
long once we actually came to the test.
No.
But I'm okay with it. We like your small. Yeah, go for it.
It's so
Do you want me
hard.
to time you?
I
See-
know, because it's going to be like 2 seconds at max, and it's going to make me feel bad about it.
All right.
And then I laugh and I get red-faced.
Maybe we'll work on it. We'll work on it. But I think Splyce, after that, feeling like they have a bit to work on. You're
No,
all in
I'm-
just this zone right now.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that game went by pretty quick.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's the thing, when you look at G2 and just them showing out in their G2 fashion, Dosub's back on the Cassie, which we always love to see. I'm sure he was smiling plenty while playing on this, so...
It's one of those areas, and I think this is kind of a combination of things when it comes down to it. Not only did G2 have a phenomenal game, not only is Splyce, again, coming in with a new member this week, so it was already stellar that they had the performance they did against Renegades, but you're looking at a map that I would assume G2 would like to go to, because this is the kind of thing they've gotten better at, is practicing these maps to make sure that they are not falling behind. It's not going to be this, we have to ban this map, which means people can choose all these other ones that they're good against us. It's, we'll go anywhere that we need to. Splitstone Quarry, Ascension Peak will be our places to choose. They will be our maps to go to because we can be strong on them.
Yeah, G2 proving again that they are just really zoning in within this split. They did during the last split as well, coming out as top seed, but I think Vexed coming into it has been great for their composition.
Yes.
And allowing Cuss to get to play within these other roles as well, and as a unit looking very fierce.
Everything that they've been able to do, again, it feels like improvements. It really is weird to think of the fact that G2, even with War Doom, when they were, they were deadly. And then it's like, okay, well, you take away War Doom and add in Vex, and they've just gotten deadlier. It's just one of those areas where when you're looking at some of these other matchups, and I think Envy plays against G2 later this week, that's the one I really want to see, because it's just trying to evaluate where does G2 stand now after all of this, after the lands, with this change up. Did that boost them so far ahead of everyone else that they're finally super comfortable at the top?
We're seeing all the maps that we don't normally get to see as much, because when you have Stone Keep and Bright Marsh banned away, then it means you're going to dip in quicker, but they still had other options of the bit more traditional. I like we're actually getting to go to Frozen Guard.
I kind of like it. I mean, I'm happy. If you're going to choose one of the ice maps, I would rather go to Frozen Guard than Ice Mines every day of the week. But it also
Not
is
even
another
just
map
on,
that I
like,
think
Sundays?
can give you...
You don't want to, like, dip over?
You know what? I'll give it Sundays. Ice
All
Mine,
right.
You can have Ice Mines on Sundays.
Cool. It's like Frozen Guard and Ice Mines got divorced, and then in the agreement, Ice Mines gets you
Ice
on
Mines
Sundays.
gets every other weekend.
Every other weekend and Wednesday aspect. Now we'll just leave it to Sundays for now, and since there's no PPL on Sundays, I guess maybe there's a chance that we won't be
That's
going
why I
there
chose
very
Sunday. It
often.
was Saturday or Sunday, and either one we don't cast.
But as far as the comps go, getting Khan with this prioritization when he's not banned away, they're picking it up super quick.
Khan and Barrick in this map, I think, is a really good pickup. Again, Khan is in that area where you normally see him as kind of, I want to say off tank, but he's still a tank. So he's still taking a lot of damage, still shielding a lot, but he's healing you, boosting you, in a very good position here for a buck. In a Zen combination, you get Barrick, who will more than likely just set up a lot of good spots for his turrets on this map so that they won't get taken down, and you can kind of control the flow of the fight just around those two. Then you add in Buck, Zen, and Grover, and you just have a pretty clean composition.
Yeah, Grover pick, and then Buck and Zin, so a lot of mobility in that flank action with your double frontliner. Splyce are bringing Victor in once again, that they did actually
Victor.
dish out.
You have to say it. Victor.
Victor. That's who they're bringing.
I actually like it. Again, a lot that can come through. Cassie, Leon, Victor, all very strong in terms of their DPS. I feel like Cassie and Leon might do a little bit more here overall, but since everyone is kind of collapsed in on a single point, a good grenade can get you a lot of damage.
Well, this is game number 2, and let's see if it's as convincing for G2 as was the first.
outside of the Victor, traditionally good stuff for Splyce, but given that Aspect has already proved himself today on the Victor, I don't really have much of a problem with it, to be honest with you. However, I think the same thing for G2 if they close this one quickly. I worry about their composition if this goes into the hyper late game when there's so much caught, so much wrecker.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's going to be a lot of cauterize, but it's funny, when we saw Victor play in Fish Market, I was like, there's really only 2 maps we ever really see Victor coming out. It's Fish Market and Frozen Guard was the other one that we see a lot of him. So the thing about it that's really going to be different, I don't expect Aspect, if he does play Victor, to have the same kind of freedom, simply because G2 with the double flank and the high mobility front line, they can push him out of a position pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you've got Vex yeeting axes at him from a distance the whole time as well. But I mean, Grover's damage nowadays, definitely not what he used to be.
No,
for
I mean,
sure.
The Ferocity Grover days are long gone, for
Neither
sure.
is Victor's damage, though. It's better than it ever has been. And you know, maybe it's time he got his fair shake at a couple of PPL games here, running the OG skin, going old school this time, bringing it back. Maybe that'll have better results or something for him. I don't know, maybe.
And customizing the weapon too. We were talking about how nice this weapon. Already, look how far he's poked out. Where do you go if you're Victor at this point? Evil Eye able to dunk in, get Shadow, take him out, and run right back to point. Now G2 has an advantage, and Evil Eye is able to find Vayne as well. Can we make it 3 potentially? The wall's going to delay things for a short time, but still, the fact of the matter is G2 is so good at punishing odd man situations. You can see how they're able to just turn on the gas, put the overdrive in, and then once they found their limit of success, they back right back up and make sure they can keep a good zone.
And you got to say, this is not the start you wanted to see if you're a Splyce fan. G2 Esports, I think this is exactly what they needed to do. Get way out in front early. Here comes the shout from Cuskewty, throws the shield, running out of HP. Yeah. And Vex able to get in there for a heal, ultimately punish. Cuskewty and Vex die for the zone.
So what?
Ultimately securing what they came for.
Yeah, so what? You get the objective, you get the 1-0, and now that Barrick is still there, he's setting up his mobile tank, changing it over to maybe like a World of Tanks game here as he got himself just rolling through. But Shadow, this is a good position for Shadow, though. He's able to kind of block off this line of sight and make sure that he can get some dismounts, but at the same time also put some back-end pressure onto that Barrick, who now has given up control of the payload. So now that was a really smart play from Shadow. Get some damage in, roll back up, make sure your defense can set up early. But do they know Evil Eye's in the back line?
I don't know if they do. He whirls out of the back line, trying to get himself back to the safety of his team, but in the process pokes out a couple of members of Splyce. Axe is starting to come in, feeling the heat of that. And Evil Eye, he moves in for a couple of the easiest kills of his life. Now here comes Bodies. He picks one up as well, unable to make it out. But Evil Eye's here. He's full HP. One more kick from the combo. It's a double kill for Evil Eye.
What? That was the most random push of positioning from Splyce when the payload is not even through the underpass yet. That was a really interesting call as far as how far they dove in there. And they didn't, again, they didn't really get all that much from it. And it was just instant punish from G2. Now the payload's moving for 100% free. They just gave up that choke point of the underpass almost immediately.
And look at this, Cuskewty trying to hold down this high ground. Grover rotating in. The commitment here from G2. Enlightenment misses. Here comes the whirlwind to top everyone back up to full HP.
Vining just over the top of the impasse wall. The Enlightenment was good, but the Vine was better. Evil Eye will spite onto the high ground, try to put some pressure onto Aspect, but Shadow's able to counter it back out. But look at the time. Look at the positioning that G2 still has in their favor. Fortunately, they're able to find a pick onto Vex. With that support being down, this might just be enough to stall for a short amount of time, but they desperately needed to stall.
What was that?
Strange.
Why does Bodies need to die? Maybe they just called reset. He figured, fastest way out is through, I suppose. Jumps into the meat grinder. Got to get home. Spend some of those credits. Concrete. Cement that advantage, rather, for G2 Esports. Credit lead doesn't mean anything until you spend it on items. 32% on a Whirlwind, 40% on a pretty consequential Spite. I don't really look at Spite as much of an ultimate anyway when it's not Guillotine.
True.
Ghost's working his way through. Still 900 credits for these frontliners, Cuskewty and Doe, to work with once they go home. A Dome Shield and a lot of heavy-hitting ultimates to get this payload pushed the last 10%.
Yeah, but Vex falls early, so without the support being there, how long can this last? Fortunately, you have Khan. Ooh, the seismic crash does come through, but kills do follow for G2. The barrage are also being used, but Evil Eye still relatively healthy until I say that, of course. He drops down to just 462. Khan is trying to sustain this front line. It's the damage here.
It is. It absolutely is. That heal from Cuskewty was so instrumental. It keeps Evil Eye alive. He's unable to get the counter off, though.
Wow.
That would, I think, have maybe led to the kill there. Rukata hits the shot when he needs to most. G2 Esports spend big, but come up just short.
Evil Eye's 10-3 right now, and he's playing so aggressively. But still, I mean, again, you look at the pro side of Splyce, they have been on top of the damage charts in just about every single game. And it's not just one player, it's two. Now we're looking at 3 different players are up in the damage charts. This is a really good thing for Splyce to have. It just comes down to, you know where your gaps are, you know where your holes are. How do you adjust to make sure that you're able to get yourself back into these games?
That just goes to show you that damage does not win games, right?
Not always.
It's about effective damage, cleaning up these kills, making sure that streaks don't go burning too long, and I think that's what G2 are doing very well. You could see, especially last game, the first thing right off the bat, Doseps lands a big burst, and you see bodies rotate instantly over to clean it up. Everyone's scouted out right now, so G2 not looking to make any too big moves because they'll all be spotted out to everyone on Splyce, but they do net themselves a nice 25% on the objective before they back off.
And again, look how nicely and patient Bodies is playing. He gets some good damage on Inara. Let the other damage dealers make sure you get the confirmed shots, and they do get the kill. Now Spite in the backline for Evil Eye, trying to find some pressure onto this wall, but Shadow punishes almost immediately, but the damage is done again on the point. I'd be interested to see what the objective time looks like, simply because G2 has been so warming this point so nicely.
There it is, plenty of heals to go around. Bodies cleans up the final member from Splyce, 87% on the objective.
Goodness.
And Brother Man Barracks got you locked down.
It's okay, so like this is a lopsided stat as we look at it right now for Barrack because he's been riding the payload the whole way through, but it's the only 41 seconds that Inara has stepped on point. That's almost matched as much as what Evil Eye and Khan have done so far.
Right.
You need that to change a little bit differently. I'm not necessarily looking at Barrack's time and saying, oh my goodness, they're doing such a good job, because again, he's using that thing as a tank. It's the fact that Inara's is so low.
When you subtract the 2 minutes roughly that Doseps probably spent on the objective in the last round, it's not that impressive of a stat. But G2, they're focusing, especially in the first round, they won the fight so heavily. It was 100-0 uncontested. It was just clean capture all the way through.
And there again, you see G-Bunny wanted to start to set up a defense. They got poked out, and everybody retreated but G-Bunny. So what happens? He gets punished. It's those little things that you kind of, yes, you can communicate them like, hey, we're not going to get aggressive here, but you also have to feel those things as a team. And he's obviously not quite there as far as understanding what the rest of his team wants to do instinctually. That's a thing that G2 has gotten done so well rehearsed.
Couple of ultimates now to work with as
again,
well. The front line goes down for Splyce.
And Vayne.
The support goes down for Splyce, and the payload goes through. But for G2, 3-1 now reads the scoreline. Not an ultimate out of play. I feel like I'm about to get into a Christmas rhyme here. Not an ultimate used as G2 scooted through. Uncontested by Splyce. They looked like doo-doo.
I can't even go anywhere near that. That's too perfect. This is pure beauty.
Published in late 2018, folks.
You can catch
just
that
in time for the holiday
Just
season.
in time for the holiday
Get
season.
your signed copy, first editions at HRX. Tickets on sale now.
It's quality content right here.
There it is. Neat spray. He's come back from the abyss. You only get that spray from winning the abyss. That's completely untrue. I'm lying. Have you played that yet? The little Tower of Power event?
I've played it once, and it was not out of choice. I really wanted to play more of it. I just didn't have the time to.
Yeah, I hear you. It's kind of fun, especially when you get like, Ruckuses and Grovers and things that can kind of fly around the tower and get a little creative with it. I love it. 3-1 here. G2 off to a good start, an even better start than they have been in rounds prior. Spite up over the top, looking for a fun little angle to play with. G2, Evil Eye specifically, playing with his food at this point.
G-Bunny, the farm is open for business. Apparently, it's the 4th time he's died straight without doing really much of anything. Now the overpowered onto Vayne. That should be an easy kill. So the support dropping away. Enlightenment used. Mirror is an informality, trying to get one more bit of damage, but it looks like the point should stay in control of G2 as Shadow's the last player there. He's not even going to bother touching. G2.
Look at that glorious bastard just sitting on the point.
This big old goggles and come get it.
Barrack. It's Barrack.
I'm an engineer.
Oh my god. That character, man. What a troll.
I love it.
What an absolute troll there. G2 take a much easier win, I think, here in Game 2 on Frozen Gird.
Well, it wasn't much easier than what they had in the 4-1 last time, too. So
I don't know. It felt dominant. I don't know.
It's just G2's so good. I mean, as we were going into this with Ozone in the lineup, I was looking at, again, changing the PPL from the bottom up. I expected to see the NA gap start to get a little bit smaller, but the fact of the matter is G2 is one of the best teams in the world, and they're showing off why.
Yep. So let's throw it back to the desk here and keep this set moving.
I mean, they said it right. G2, always so good. Another clean performance from them.
was almost perfect, right? The only thing that went wrong was that triple kill from Evil Eye. Like, it just wasn't enough time for him, right? I feel like that was like the perfect play, and it just ended in such a disappointing way where it's like, man, like that was gonna be the push. It was gonna be cool. And I kind of wish if we could rewrite that entire game, that's how that one would go. It would be a 4-0, and I'd feel bad for Splyce at the end of the day because we were changing it to be that way, but it would have been awesome.
With Evil Eye, you just mentioned him actually, and
It was awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
He
Pretty
got
sick.
this gnarly triple kill.
Yeah, I like it. He's been such a strong performer for a while, but even it was mentioned during the last time how even Evil Eye has like actually technically had to retrial for the team and stuff, and you wouldn't think that by looking at his play.
It's just one of those things when you have someone who can do like that amount of work, right? They get a triple kill. They're the only one left. The reason you're, like, I guess technically still in overtime, even though just a second ago you had your frontliners there. He gets a triple kill under the pressure, being able to move forward. And again, I want to say this is a game that might kind of inflate that for him, but he has consistent performances like that across multiple games, across multiple teams. And as long as he's still there, I feel like G2 are always a threat, and he's so flexible.
I love what we've seen from him over time, whether it's on the Xin, whether it's going on the Bomb King, where we've seen some great play for him as well. And just the fact that everyone on G2 has a variety of picks that they're actually just so comfortable with has allowed them to have that flexibility in their type of play. But now we're going off to Frog Isle, where we can see things of... It's a bit more of a map that we see frequently.
And I'm kind of curious as to what Splyce's plan is right now. Because this is map number 3. This is where they want to go. They take first pick, and immediately G2 ban Kinessa. So this is the challenge to Splyce. Take Strix, or we're taking him. You have no option right here.
You have no choice, my friend.
Well, they also might just skip him. No, they grab him. Okay.
So
Cool.
banning
So
away the Kinessa.
ignore the fact that I doubted myself there. And we're solid.
And the Strix getting locked in as well as the Cassie. So even if you have, there's a lot of people that can't play them. If you have, let's say, Bodies is over on the Strix, and then you can even throw, depending on what comp they go with, Dosub's back on the Cassie. This could be a very oppressive composition.
I'm kind of curious, and this was mentioned during the last set as well, but it was Renegades who were kind of foregoing Genos and grabbing Buck. This time around, you have the opportunity to go for it. I don't know how big Terminus is going to be as a pickup overall for G2. As far as front lines, I think him and Inara, the ones when they're open, are kind of the top 2 that people are like leaning towards. But I don't think it's so much that you have to grab it unless you want to feel comfortable with it. And you actually end up going through, you grab the Saris overall. And so I'm intrigued and excited by what Splyce are bringing.
Why do you think they opted for the Saris?
I think a Convergence, depending on the way they go, and a Buck Wild is a terrific combo. And it's in that area where with these double front lines, you don't really need the boost from Genos. You want some extra healing. And I think that's something you sacrifice. You grab Genos, you don't have that. You have to hope that over time it's going to be enough. You get Saris, you get the burst as well, or the big heals, which admittedly can be a burst, as well as Khan just bursting you up with that healing.
Oh, it's double front line versus double front line. Game number 3, G2 could just go ahead and close this out. They've been performing very well. So let's see what Splyce ends up bringing to the table.
Not a lot of Sarises out there. Spunky, probably one of the only few that pops to mind, but do you think this is just to keep up with Vex?
Yes. I think in turn with that too, you don't necessarily have to go Votabides here simply because you have the con healing on top. So that single throughput healing that you can throw onto a long-range Buck, for instance, if he dives in, or of course just to help out the Terminus on point. I think this is really smart. I'm finally happy to see Splyce try to do this double front line. This is something that I think they should have been doing from game number 1 based on the roster that they have together.
Well, better late than never, I suppose. Say. And as we get into this one, 0-2, G2 will lead Splyce potentially into their doom on Frog Isle. But it's loser's pick. Splyce picked this map. They've got a plan. Let's see if they can get some traction here.
You know, the other side of it too, you know, we'll take a look to see who is playing the Saris. You know, Vayne has not looked, I would say, extremely comfortable playing the support. He's been picked out a lot of different times. It's actually going to be Aspect. I like this. What the Nimble, you know, that was a big conversation point after week 1 when Wardoom played Nimble 2 Saris on Splitstone. People were like, why is he playing Nimble? You don't necessarily need Kronos if he is using the Mortal Reach. And on top of that, the morale boost is great, but why not have that extra mobility so that you can go stealth, touch the point for an overtime, come back?
I mean, bro, think about how many massive convergences do you see landing
Very
at
few.
This level of play. I get it. It's hella fun to throw your ultimate every 30 seconds. Trust me, I believe you. But it's all about effectiveness at this level of play. and staying alive. Wardoom's the best at it, so maybe there is something there to the nimble Saris. 9% on the objective. Vayne off to a great start, managing his power siphon juice very well.
G-Bunny, but you need to be up here to help. Again, he has to be there. When the tournament starts to get low, you have to be right within walking distance to hit that battle shout, not only for Vayne, but also for yourself. He gets caught out again, so mispositioning once again, but Cutie also low. Finally, Shadow able to take him down. Vayne wants to get re-aggressive on the point. This is good play here from Vayne, and of course, Aspect right behind him, giving him the heals.
Struggle so far for this Terminus to fight into the Warder's field. That'll probably change later when, you know, Bulldozer's online. Two-shot it. Move about your day. Shadow with an angle into the back line. Hits a big headshot on the Evil Eye. Doesn't realize, I think, how close Dosups was to him and potentially dying.
Uh-oh.
And he gets it flipped on his head, disengaged off the map.
Just narrowly, too. Almost put that pinky toe on, and now Vayne getting looked at. Another nice heal from Aspect to keep him alive. Power Siphon used to get right back into point, but Cutie is disrupting the backline so well. Fireball and Flame Lance alike into Aspect to take him down, and that means Vayne has no more chance of surviving.
There it is, now trying to break the backline. Body's getting very aggressive here. He's been playing flanks all series long, and kind of showing for him, not missing a shot either. Cutie's here to help. And I love Fernando plus anyone in the backline there. It's just one of my favorite dynamics since, like, literally Theo Lazy day one. I think that combination has been near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, Fernando is it's so good at putting in the pressure. There's a reason why Flank Nando is such a viable element in the game. It's because of the damage output that he can put in for essentially free, at least safely. Evil Eye with a really good angle here as well. He's able to track down, trying to find the shots. We'll connect one onto G-Bunny, who again is being targeted out so quickly. And he drops, again, very early on in this fight.
Buck with an awkward jump in and out and around this fight. Body's getting so much healing, styling on people. But, you know, this play brought to you by Vex30. He is keeping Bodies on his feet and allowing him to do what he does.
Vex, I have said time and time again, one of the more underrated supports in NA. The fact that now he's on G2, I think he's really going to shine. When he was at SK, he was one of the biggest reasons why that team did as well as it did early on in the fall, and then even kept themselves even close to being on their feet in the spring. He's showing off exactly why here with a couple of huge heals.
There it is. Easy breezy push for G2 Esports. I don't even think they use any ultimates there to get that one pushed through, but just the amount of healing coming through. A little self-sustain via landing the blast shot, but just look at the healing right now. Look at these juicy heals from Maldama. The 440s coming up. Vayne gets juggled mid-air. Very nice use of disengage this game so far.
Goodness gracious, Bodies, you're insane. That was dirty. Pulls a shot just before he hits the dodge roll. That was nutty.
You got to fit it in when you can.
You're not wrong. Look at the front line. 0-3-0, 0-4-1 for Vayne and G-Bunny combined. A total of 0-7-1 up front. Yikes.com.
Tough stuff. G2 have a very formidable front line of their own.
Very much so.
Yeah, the Damba and Nara combination, it's pretty day one as well. Cutie's doing a good job being all over the map. But I'm not sure. I mean, Fernando versus Kane, they're fairly similar. I mean, in the way that they are going to kind of spearhead charges and provide pressure right now. It's just the G2 front line that is having their way with the map.
Gracious. Even the Dread Serpent on top of it. Bodies back here for free, able to find two. That's a full wipe. Why not? It's just Ricotta trying to stay stealth. He even gets disengaged just for good measure from Bodies. My God, G2.
I mean, we were talking a little bit about this, and I'm not a PPL frontliner by any means, so I'm not going to try and tell you what exactly to do, but I feel like it is very intangible. It is almost very confidence-based. It's very, I'm confident in my team. You know, if I don't get follow-up and I'm about to do what Cutie just did, then I'm going to die. But you see just the gusto, the lack of hesitation from Dosups and Cuss as they round that corner, land their ultimates, get value, and how easy that becomes for their backline to win the fight.
Shadow's got a low target in front of him. If he can find Evil Eye, one more shot will do. Waiting on the jump. There it is. Whoa, G-Bunny able to find that. Wasn't sure if the net shot was going to get the kill there.
I thought it was the net shot, too.
It was online for sure.
99 to 99, Splyce.
Nice.
Comeback mechanic. They stabilize a fight, and they retain the use of Reanimate as well. So
big.
Perhaps a little overzealous from G2 in the way that they took that fight.
But just look right here. Look how all four players from Splyce want to get on the objective, with the exception of G-Bunny, who does fortunately find a kill, but you can see the attention wanted to be on the point, and G-Bunny almost actually fell at one point in time over on that danger ledge. It's little things like that are really showing me that G-Bunny's still trying to figure out the play style that Splyce is bringing to the table here against these big powerhouse opponents like Renegades and G2.
Cutie again, not afraid to lay down his life for some space, for some pressure. He doesn't get the follow-up that time. So, you know, that we've got to see what it looks like when it goes right, and now we've gotten to see what it looks like when it goes wrong. But it's all about the trust and the lack of hesitation. For better or for worse, Cuss is going to do what he needs to do the second he feels he needs to do it, because even a bad plan executed perfectly without hesitation, I feel like can work out for you.
Aspect, can you get away from this?
Nimble,
not enough. So close, so close.
Have to buy that Nimble too, brother.
Yeah, Cuss is doing a good job of tracking him down throughout all of that chase. Really, really smart play. And look how aggressive G2 is. My goodness, you'd think that they were the ones who were on offense.
Wall plays. Dosups gets to the high ground here. His tracking, unbelievable. The Inara, it's deep in the back line. Oh my poggers.
Oh my poggers. How do you deal with this though if you're Splyce, man?
I don't know. I don't think, I mean, at Damba Inara, you actually can.
No.
I've seen laughable amounts of damage being poured into Inara and just watch her health bar not move. So, you can't. The confidence here could be punished. I mean, did they collapse on Dosus? Remember now, Splyce are on the offense here. G2 are on the defense. The team is being held at their spawn at this moment.
Goodness gracious.
And this is why I'm not a fan of the comeback mechanic. I'm just like, why do we need to see this? You know?
I mean,
I'm over the comeback mechanic. I think it could be, I think there should be a comeback mechanic. I'm just not a fan of the one that we've got.
I don't really have an opinion, I suppose. I'm trying to like collect my thoughts, but
well, I won't ask you. I won't put you on the spot then if you don't have any thoughts.
I'll come up with something.
It's just so overwhelmingly, you know, like, I mean, I feel like almost any team could dump 5 ultimates into a team fight, get themselves a 30-second window to capture a point, and it's like, is that worth dragging the game out another round or so? Food for thought, folks.
Yeah, I'm chewing on it, so.
G2 Esports hold the defense there, and Bodies
take 2 of these.
sends a message there. Damage dealt.
Goodness gracious.
Being led by none other than Daddy Doe. Big Sea Bass, the offensive lineman for G2.
The Big Sea Bass?
His name's Sebastian.
Oh, I was like.
He told me that used to be like his nickname when he played football.
Okay.
Sea Bass. He's a big dude. Big teddy bear, though.
He's a big teddy bear.
So I hope he lives forever.
You know, I've missed Dosup streams because he doesn't stream with the camera, but his voice is just so.
Oh my God, that was
so
the first
soothing.
thing I thought when I saw it, because it's like
he's so chill.
You just get to have your imagination, right? I have no idea what this guy looks like, and it doesn't really matter just because I could listen to him all day.
It's warm voice.
The voice of a teddy bear. That's what I imagined, I think, before I met Dosups.
Sounds
And then,
about right.
you know, you're not entirely wrong once you even see Dosups. You're like, well, I don't know.
It is pretty perfect, though.
Great guy, great team, great attitude,
great wall,
great captain, great wall, great tracking. Anything else we're missing? Check.
Let's see if he pulls off the biggest seismic crash of his life. It'd be great ult.
We're ready for the yeet. Doe, give it to us. Shatter falling
okay.
to the backline. Terminus
Why
looking to
not?
get aggressive, but stealthing. Evil Eye pops out, hits the shot real quick on the scope there. And Dosups, another great wall, forcing this Terminus back, keeping the space beautifully in position here between him and Terminus.
Look at
having
this.
His way.
This is beautiful from Cuss. He says, you guys could clean up Terminus. I'm going to force out the support.
Yeah.
Get this a stagger. He's able to find the kill. How do you combat that comeback mechanic? Well, you need to retake the point, but beyond that, how about a little bit further of a stagger? They're able to do it beautifully, and once again, now they're looking to possibly be on that quote-unquote offense, although they don't have a payload. Another great impasse wall, forces out mobility, and I just don't see any way of Splyce coming and retouching this. Great play from G2 to punish and get that retake and
The
stagger.
Immortal. I really like what I'm seeing from Doe and Cuss on this front line for G2.
Yeah.
Just Cuss probably, you know, despite that awesome game from Dosups, just the lack of the hesitation, and I think a specific kind of conversation that I had with Cuss is just, you know, when he was on support, some like wanting to urge Wardoom on to like go, I think this is a good time for us to go, but you know, what can you do as support? You know, you're pocketing him, you're doing you can, you're telling him, but I think I almost like him as that in-game leader position, as that lack of hesitation guy who's just not afraid to get in there and lay it down on the line.
Lead by example.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go in. Dosups is, I mean, they've been playing together for so long. They know exactly how each other react to situations. It's a beautiful play.
I haven't seen the front line take over a game like that in quite some time. Beautiful performance from 2 of the biggest, baddest OGs in the North American scene here from Doe and Cuss.
Do you agree? Are you as hyped about their performance after that game?
Yeah, I think it looked really good. I'm still just excited to see, like, I want to say the course of G2 and Envy. I think those are the 2 teams in North America I have my eye on, like, on the international stage. The other 3 coming out of North America, I have my eye on, like, increasing in North America. But I just don't feel like they're going to displace the top two that easily.
Yeah, and G2 proving here, just like all the other times, that they are at the top for a reason, and especially when they're facing off against Splyce, who is just in that volatile state. And you had the frontliners that were putting in work, as the caster said, and really excelling within that role. And then you also had just Bodies doing Bodies things, as we have seen throughout the set and just other games in general, when he was here on the Cassie and being able to oppress the enemy.
I don't know if there is anyone in any league anywhere that has a more appropriate name than I Drop Bodies for what he does and the role he plays in pretty much every single game. I mean, it's just solid play coming down from him. And again, a lot of control. There were times Splyce looked incredible during this game, and times where it was kind of surprising to see the performance they were able to come to, like the attack they had. And then G2, again, because they're malleable, just kind of take it, absorb it, and return it.
Yeah, I love seeing Bodies has been a very impressive player for a long time, but then I think recently there's been even more consistency coming out of him, and a lot of those show-stopping moments where that hunger is clearly feeding. And I think a lot of it comes from G2. They have to be in this mindset where when it comes to actually placing within the regular season, as you'll see in the standings, G2 is still at the top of the charts, being undefeated. When you're a team like that, you're thinking also beyond to the 5 weeks, right? Okay, when we go to LAN, what is happening there? Why are we struggling to get to those finals within these last couple LANs? And they're just making their way through it. And as we see for the rest of the week, we are going to get to see that match you talked about between G2 and Envy.
Two teams, one tomorrow and one Friday, are both 4-0. That's Fnatic and G2. I kind of wish we could see Splyce and VP again, although we've already seen both of them twice already, so I guess it makes sense to kind of give them another week. But it's watching this, like, both of them are 0-5. Both of them are right now down at the bottom of the standings, and I feel like that is just very misleading in terms of numbers. It's one of those things that it's not them losing these games as much as it is the other team winning these games. The matchups are very, very close, and sometimes it's just one really big moment from the other side that swings it in their favor.
We're getting closer and closer to find out who ends up qualifying for our LANs at the end of Split, but everybody wants to qualify for HRX happening in November 16th through 18th. Get your tickets now, highresexpo.com. And as you heard Pretty Hair with his, what was that, some holiday rhyme earlier, he said you could get a signed copy or something at HRX. Maybe we'll try and hold him to that.
His new mixtape actually going to be dropping exclusively for HRX. Instead of Can You Feel Me this time, it's just going to be Pretty Hair singing.
Right. We have a lot to look forward to, some singing and some gameplay later on this year, but that's going to do it for the PPL. Tomorrow we do have more of the PPL action at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you then, friends.